Welcome back.
Good morning, viewers. Welcome back to the channel. Today, of course, we're going to be talking about the FCC's recent proposal to ban burner phones. I know many people may say, well, it doesn't affect me. I don't use a burner phone. What do I care? Well, maybe you should care. Also, there are those out there who may say, well, it's about our safety, our security. But is it really? Well, we're going to talk about it anyway. And I'll give you my opinion as we go. So, there we go. So, under the proposal for enhancing Know Your Customer requirements, the FCC is proposing enhanced requirements for verifying customer information. Not only verifying the information when you purchase the phone, but also re-verifying the information when you renew your phone contract. Now, that's an interesting concept there, but if you go by that, so say you pay monthly for your phone service, You may have to re-verify your information every month. Think about that for a moment, how inconvenient that'll be when you go to pay your phone bill. You want to pay it online, but you've got to enter in all of your personal information, including your ID number, social security number, all of it. Every month you have to just go through jumping through more hoops to add stuff in. Now, all of this is being done under the guise of security, protecting people. But as we know, seldom are those, seldom is that where it ever stops, right? So, the FCC alleges that criminals are using burner phones to scam Americans out of money. But that's not actually the case, but we'll talk about that briefly in a moment. But as a result of the allegation there, they want to require that all private consumers' information be verified and re-verified on a regular basis. But moreover, that for high-volume customers, it says here, including businesses and foreign consumers, they want to require providers also collect the intended use of the service, marketing, education, political campaign, and the consumer's IP address from which the call will be placed if applicable. They say first, it has two benefits. One, it will determine, it will deter some scammers from getting onto the network. And second, enforcers will be able to identify the scammers when they do. Gathering information is the standard to prevent money laundering, and given the misuse of networks by bad actors, such as organized criminal groups, they believe that it's a good model. Now, here's the problem with this. There are plenty of ways to make a phone call without going through a standard phone service provider. And most of these bad actors are using internet programs to do it, so they don't need an actual phone. They don't actually need a phone service, nor they need a service provider. But this is one more way of regulating everything. So this has really would have no effect on criminal behavior. It's not going to work as a deterrent. Not to mention, a lot of these phone scammers and stuff, they're located in other countries that are not subject to FCC rules. The FCC rules have no bearing on a place, say, like India or Bangladesh, so forth. So, the rule isn't going to work for that. But what will this rule do? Well, it will erode privacy. It'll take away a little bit more civil liberty. Now, keep in mind that this is a proposed rule, not a proposed law, and lawmakers are already objecting to it on the grounds of privacy. But one of the things that this will do is it will prevent anyone from just going out and getting a burner phone. It means no more prepaid services, because it wouldn't work to have those prepaid services anymore. This pushes people into basically the big telecom networks. No using the prepaid, no burner phones, which means no anonymity, no privacy, no masking who you are. Which I know there's always that attitude that people have, and I've heard it many times over the years of, well, if you're not doing anything illegal, you have no reason to hide anything. Well, that's like saying, well, you should only care about the Fourth Amendment if you're a criminal. But personally, I think that we should all care about our rights. And when we erode liberty in the name of security, we lose both. You know, if we go back for a moment and we look at the Patriot Act, for instance, the Patriot Act didn't do anything to stop foreign incursions, but it left a way to further curtail the rights of the American citizen and to further spy on the American citizen, uh, you know, without justification. And it was sold to the people as a matter of security. And a lot of times, people want to feel safe. That's true. But is that feeling of safety worth giving up your privacy? Now, as for these robocalls, these spam callers, and these scammers, people, there's an easy way to handle this. Don't answer your phone. You know, this is the part that I don't get, is why people feel the need or that there is a requirement for them to answer the phone every time it rings. And I know a lot of that has to do with the addiction that people have so much on the phone. But there's no reason to answer the phone every time it rings. And if you don't answer the phone, the scammers, of course, will quit calling eventually. I've had plenty of scammers call my phone. I see the number. I just don't answer it. So, now, as I said, the whole notion of this is to prevent crime. But criminals always find a way. And when they talk about the organized crime groups and stuff, they're talking about foreign actors, foreign scammers, which, of course, like I said, are not subject to the FCC rules. So who will this target? This will target the American citizen. This will target the average person who just doesn't want their information out there all the time. Some people want to communicate anonymously, such as journalists. Now, journalists will often use burner phones or prepaid phones to protect sources and stuff. Now, we know that the current administration does not like the First Amendment. We've seen that. And this is a simple assault on it. But moreover, this goes into privacy and our own liberty and safety. Now, the thing is that a lot of times there are groups of people who use burner phones for various reasons other than just protecting their regular privacy, but for other safety concerns. Now, the National Network to End Domestic Violence warned that the FCC may warned the FCC that many of the behaviors the agency appears to regard as suspicious for abuse survivors are essential practices. You see, people who are victims of domestic violence, for instance, they want anonymity. They want a burner phone because they don't want the abusive spouse tracking them down and finding them. In comments filed with the commission, the organization argued that survivors frequently rely on prepaid phones, substitute mailing addresses, post office boxes, mail forwarding services, and address confidentiality programs to avoid being located by abusive partners. Requiring providers to verify and permanently record identity information could expose vulnerable individuals to renewed harm, which is true. Now, See, here's the thing: is that the government creating and creating more databases. That's the problem. Is our government is creating a lot more databases, and in order to track the people, like I said, this whole issue with banning burner phones has nothing to do with security. It has to do with eroding civil liberties and doing away with more of our own privacy. Just handing over a little more privacy, a little more security to the government, because they're gonna keep us safe. But think about the TSA for a moment. Has the TSA truly made flying any safer? Or has the TSA, for instance, made flying more inconvenient? The same thing applies with this. There's a lot of issues with this where you won't be able to there's a lot of issues in this where you won't be able to have any privacy. Yeah. And of course, the requirement would also require that telecom companies keep all of the records for up to 4 years after the customer ends the relationship with the company. So this company, any company, would then be holding your records for 4 years, but which the government could then go look at those records whenever they want. And under the proposed rule, there wouldn't be a need for a warrant or anything. So the government is suspicious of your behavior because you want a burner phone, because you don't want to be tracked. But now they say, well, you can't get the burner phone. And on top of that, we get to monitor you all the time without a warrant, without due process. See, this is more circumventing our own Constitution by a government agency. And that's something that we should really look at. Now, of course, this is being challenged by a lot of people, and the comment period has ended yesterday. But the comments, a lot of public comments are in the negative for it. People aren't supporting this because people don't want to give up their privacy. Now, the FCC can pass the rule even against what the people want, obviously, but it is important to also note that the FCC has not established a timeline for adopting the final rules, but yet this is at the center of a debate. Now, the thing is, of course, is lawmakers, of course, have a problem with this as well, because they don't agree with this. And the other issue that is, of course, this is an FCC regulation, and yes, the FCC can levy fines. We've talked about that before, but the thing is that it is a rule. It's not an actual law. Now, of course, a rule like this is easier to use to circumvent the Fourth Amendment and our constitutional rights. Now, can a rule like this be challenged in court? Yes, absolutely. But it's easier to pass a rule to challenge rights than to do so by making a law that completely goes against people's rights. But the problem is often when it comes to laws, people don't challenge them as easily as they will a rule. Now, I don't know what you, the viewers, think on this, but my thoughts are this. We don't need more rules to restrict the privacy of individuals. Now, if the FCC truly wanted to stop the robocalls and everything, they would go after the providers who are already doing it. Now, many of those providers are located overseas, so they can't go after them. It's not hard to use to facilitate calls from an overseas number to the U.S., and often these people spoof the number anyway. So, as I said, this won't deter any crime. It will, although, expose vulnerable individuals to exposure. I think that we really need to quit finding ways to erode the privacy. Now, as I said, the current administration has very little regard for the Constitution. And we've talked about that before, how, with the constant assaults on the First Amendment stuff. But the current administration does not respect the First Amendment or even the Fourth Amendment, but the Fourth Amendment privacy erosion has been an ongoing battle ever since, the Patriot Act and all of that. And it's a continual thing. The government wants more power and more of your information in order to keep you safe. Now, you have to sacrifice liberty, but you'll be safe. But will it really prevent crime? No. That's reality. It's not going to prevent any kind of a crime. So my thought on it is that the FCC should probably drop this proposal. And personally, I don't want to be tracked. I don't want the government knowing my phone number. I'm sure they probably do, or at least one or two agencies. But I don't want all of my information being accessible by a government agency just on a whim. Now, granted, of course, the FCC does have my information, but on the other side of that, I don't think a telecom company needs to hold a consumer's information for years after a contract is ended so as it can be turned over to the government at any point in time. As I said, I have concerns with this when it comes to privacy, when due process. But I want you, the viewers, to let me know in the comments down below what you think on this whole FCC banning burner phones. Is it a good thing? Is it a matter of security? Will it keep you safer from the scammers? Or is it just another erosion or attack on our privacy and our civil liberties? Let me know in the comments what you think today.